Hey everyone, this is Gary again from Guitars for Vets in Charlotte. I hope you're enjoying your G4V experience so far as a student. In this video lesson, what I'd like to do is teach you a specific kind of practice method rather than any particular content about chords or anything like that. This is really a video about how to practice efficiently so that you can make it less frustrating, more enjoyable, and speed up your learning process. As a beginner, it's fun to learn how to play guitar, but it also can be really frustrating. Basically, you're trying to train your brain and your hands to work together in kind of complicated ways that they're not used to doing at all. Your muscles aren't developed in your hand. Those circuits in your brain aren't used to firing that way. So it can go very slow, and it can be very difficult. And it requires a lot of repetition to get that working smoothly. So in this video, I'll show you a practice method that will make it a little bit easier and make things go a little faster. It's called the silent 4 method for practicing, and it's really great for beginners. It's very versatile. You can use it a lot of different ways. Basically, the reason this works is this practice method has a couple of objectives. One is it isolates very specifically the thing that you are trying to learn. A lot of times when you're starting out as a beginner, you don't realize that you're actually trying to do multiple things all at one time, which kind of overloads your brain. So the first thing is really kind of isolate, zoom in on the thing that specific thing that you're trying to learn. The second thing that this method does is it really relieves a lot of muscle strain on your hands and fingers, which are not, they're still kind of building up their strength, and when you're starting out, that's a real helpful thing. It allows you to practice longer without getting really strained and sore. So you can get a lot more reps in a practice period, in a shorter practice period. And then finally, this method is specifically designed to help you to learn to anticipate and feel the moves that you have to make when you're playing music. Part of the reason that guitar players are able to move fast and efficient when they're playing a song and, for example, change chords very quickly is because they're able to anticipate. They've done it enough that they're able to anticipate when that change is supposed to come, and they're getting ready for it while they're doing one thing, they're preparing for the next thing. So let's just give it a try here. Let's say that you're trying to learn a new chord like an E major chord. The first step in learning an E major chord is you have to kind of learn where those finger positions are. And I've got some other videos out in the series that you should tune into that shows you how to read chord charts, how to place your fingers correctly, and how to remember those shapes so that you can retrieve them quickly and easily. And then the next thing you try to do is you try to get your fingers in the right position and press them the right way and hold this the correct way so that you can get that nice sound going, so it's nice and clear. And the third thing that you try to do then is you try to learn how to switch from one chord to another chord. Say from an E to an A, or from an E to a B7, or from an A to a B7. That's very challenging. That's where it gets really tough for a lot of beginners because it requires a lot of things to happen very quickly. And with this method, we'll break down the process a little bit to make it really simple. So let's say, for example, that I was going to use this method to learn how to change chords between an E chord and an A chord. E chord and an A chord. Now, when you're playing music, a song, that song will have a tempo. And a slow song might be 70 beats per minute. Which is a beat just in about less than a second. And you change chords between beats. So you might count 1, 2, 3, 4, and then after 4, the next beat is 1 again. And you're going to change chords between the 4 and the 1. In a slow song, that space of time is less than a second. And in a fast song, it will be a lot less than a second. It might be a half a second or a third of a second. And that's the space of time that you have to make these fingers move back and forth. So you got to get it really automatic in order to go that fast. So that's the specific thing that we're trying to learn here, is how do I make my fingers go from one position to another quickly? And that's very different objective than trying to learn how to play the chord cleanly and make it sound right. So in order to work on this changing position things, I don't need my right hand at all. I'm not going to use my strumming hand. I'm not going to use it at all during this silent 4 practice in order to change chords. So I've immediately simplified things for my brain because now I only have to work on one hand. The second thing that I'm going to do is I am going to rest my fingers lightly in position. Let's say I'm going to try and switch from an E chord to an A chord. I don't need to press the strings hard in order to memorize that position and get those fingers moving. I can just rest them very lightly on the strings in the position that they should be. That will relieve the strain on my hand and make it a lot easier on my fingertips if they're getting a little sore. The third thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to count, either out loud or in my head or by tapping my foot. I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now the reason that I'm doing that is because that will help me time when I need to change chords from one position to the other, from the E to the A. I'm going to hold my fingers on the E for the count of 4, and then I'm going to take them off for the next count of 4, and I'm going to put them down on the A chord position on the 1 of the third count of 4, like this. I'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, off, 2, 3, 4, A, 2, 3, 4, off, 2, 3, 4, E, 2, 3, 4, and so on like that. So I'm basically in the chord position for a count of 4, off the chord position for a count of 4, and then in the new chord position for the next count of 4, and then off, and then back. So I can do that. It gives me a little time for my brain to kind of figure out where my fingers need to go for the new chord while they're off the strings, and then get ready to go. And I'm doing it to this count so that I'm always making sure that my fingers land in the new position on the 1 count of the new measure. That's how you start to learn the anticipation. It's a rhythmic thing. When you really start getting this down and playing, you won't be counting that way unless it's a very tricky rhythm of some kind. Usually you can just feel when it's going to come. And this will help you get that feel. The second thing that I would mention about that is that when I move my fingers off, I don't take them all the way off. I just take them a little ways up. I raise them up maybe a ½ an inch or a third of an inch off the strings so that I'm minimizing that finger movement and making a very short, efficient move. And then I reorganize my fingers in the new position, keeping them very close to the fingerboard. The rest of my hand really isn't moving very much. I want to be able to move back and forth like that with the economy of movement, the shortest possible moves, the least amount of wasted motion. That will allow me to make those moves. Now, after you do this for a while, you might decide that you can speed up your count by going 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Or you might decide you're getting a little better at this. You might decide not to take your fingers off on that second count. You might just go right to the A chord on the next count like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, like that. So you can get a lot of reps in. I would say when you do this exercise when you're starting out, start slower until you feel like you're getting it, and do it for maybe a minute, and then rest, and then try it again, and then rest, and try it again for a minute, and rest. You can do about 3 minutes of that and you'll be getting a lot of reps in. And notice I haven't done anything with my right hand again. We're trying to keep my brain focused on just this, what my left hand is doing and what those fingers are. I'm not pressing down, I'm not strumming, not doing any of that. If I were practicing to learn how to make the E chord sound good, I would practice differently. I would be doing all of the usual stuff. So this silent 4 method is really a very efficient practice method. When you practice switching between chords, always pick a pair of chords that you're going to work on the movements between them. And then you try to figure out the most efficient movements between them. You check out some of the other animated videos, lessons that are on the page for some specific examples of chord pairs, E to B7, E to A to B7, etc. And it breaks down the finger moves very specifically and talks about pivot fingers and lead fingers, and that will help you make sure that you're getting the most efficient moves in between chords. After you've used this method for a while, I think you'll find that it's very versatile for anything that you want to learn, and especially keep in mind the idea of isolating on the task, breaking down the play into small steps so that you can really rehearse those things. That's it for now. Please enjoy some of the other videos in the series, and I wish you luck. Thanks for tuning in.